inside. I see the born. I see the born of no return. It's just ahead now. It's just ahead now. Can't you see we're rushing for the end? I see the point of no return. Oh, now see the point of no return. It's just ahead.
Well, good evening. You're listening to Wide Awake News on Monday, April 14th, 2014. My name is Gary Hendershot, and for about the next hour or so, I'm going to be barking at the moon. Well, let's see. April 14th. April 14th. Well, if you haven't already filed, you got one day. Okay? It's got to be postmarked by tomorrow. Yeah. 'Tis the season to be jolly. April 14th. April 14th. April 15th is the big day. You know, it would be funny if it wasn't tragically true. But tomorrow, I'm going to mail a check to the IRS that exceeds the salary that I got on my first full-time job back in 1972. Yeah. And it's not like I'm a rich man, okay? I guess I do a little bit better than average, but, you know, I am not a wealthy man. But tomorrow, I get to send Uncle Sugar a check that's bigger than the annual salary that I earned on my first full-time job way back in, I think it was 1972, 1973, something like that. Kind of scary when you have kind of a long-term perspective on this thing. It's kind of scary. You know, I don't have boats and Mercedes and big mansions in the country. You know, I'm just, average guy. And my contribution to the coffers of the United States is probably more than what is considered poverty level. So, you know, if you're earning what I have to pay in taxes tomorrow, you're not quite poverty level. You may not even qualify for food stamps. That's kind of scary. That's kind of scary. Particularly with some of the stuff that's been coming out recently about how, you know, our good friends at the IRS have been used by our so-called elected officials. I remember when they were public servants. That's how old I am. But now, of course, they're, elected officials. They're real official. But they've been using the IRS as a weapon to target their political enemies. Nobody's gone to trial. Nobody's been arrested. I don't even think anybody's lost their job over it. In fact, I think, a couple that were suspected of participating were allowed to gracefully retire, and others were given promotions for using the power of the IRS as a club to beat down political dissent. Now, how many of you out there are familiar with an outfit called Campaign for Liberty. Anybody? Let me see some hands. You know, anybody? Okay. Campaign for Liberty. All right. This is kind of a, conservative organization. Some would say libertarian-leaning organization. That is, I guess, supported by a former presidential candidate, former representative in the House of Representatives, fellow by the name of Ron Paul. He's one of the few who served in D.C. who was not an attorney. Ron Paul was a doctor, so he kind of broke the mold in that respect. Most of those who serve in Congress and in the Senate hold a title of nobility as an esquire or an attorney, a member of the bar, something that we thought we had put past us. A couple weeks ago, I got a letter supposedly written by Ron Paul in behalf of Campaign for Liberty, and this is how it starts out. This is one of the toughest letters I've ever had to send. For years, people have joked that the three most feared letters in the English language may well be these: IRS. But today, I'm not laughing. Just days ago, the IRS handed Campaign for Liberty a hefty fine and demanded we turn over sensitive contributor information. If we don't comply with the IRS's outrageous demand for sensitive donor information, I'm afraid we'll face additional fines that could cripple Campaign for Liberty and perhaps even force us to shut our doors. Gee, does it sound like maybe Campaign for Liberty has been targeted by the IRS because of their conservative or perhaps libertarian political leanings? What do you think? Now, I suspect the reason I got that letter is because I have over the years been on that secret list of donors. I mean, again, I'm not a wealthy man, but I understand that voting with your dollar is probably one of the few votes you get that really gets counted fairly. Okay? So no, I won't contribute any money to the Republican Party. I will not contribute any money to the Democratic Party. If somebody runs a candidate who I think represents my point of view, I might kick them a few bucks if I've got it. Campaign for Liberty, although frankly, I haven't seen them really do anything. They do seem to represent my point of view on a lot of topics. I'm not in full agreement with them over their stand on immigration, but that's neither here nor there. I mean, you're never going to find somebody you agree with 100%. So, you're always weighing options. But yeah, I donated a few bucks to them. I guess that got me on their mailing list. A guy like me, maybe I have a good month. I have a few extra bucks. I say, okay, I want to support something that I think is important. So, I send a few bucks to Campaign for Liberty. Well, of course, they figure, here's a well-heeled guy. We're going to, try and squeeze something out of him every month. Well, hey, guys, I had a little bit extra that month. You got it. That's it. I ain't got more. That's neither here nor there. Bottom line is, this letter from Campaign for Liberty was obviously a pitch for money. They figure they're going to have to now do legal battles with the IRS. And they need some money to do it. Okay, I understand. But, I can't help them out this time around. I got to write a huge check to the IRS tomorrow, and that's going to tap me for everything I've got. So, Campaign for Liberty, I wish I could help you out, but, times are tough right now. Taxman's getting everything I got, and it looks like he's coming after what you got, too. But, that is life in 21st century USA. Another tax issue. This was reported by ATR.org. Since taking office in 2009, El Presidente has formally proposed a total of 442 tax increases, according to Americans for Tax Reform analysis of Obama administration budgets for fiscal years 2010 through 2015. So if you think that check you have to write tomorrow is a little bigger than what you were expecting, the chances are it is. 79 tax increases were implemented in 2010, 52 tax increases in 2011, 47 in 2012, 34 tax increases for this taxable year 2013, 137 tax increases are expected to go into effect next time around. So you think your wallet is hurting tomorrow? Wait until April 15th of 2014 when you have to write the check. I'm sorry. Wait until April 15th of 2015 when you have to write the check for what you made in 2014. 137 tax increases. And that doesn't even count. That does not even count my favorite topic, Obamacare, which, the Supreme Court decided is indeed yet another tax. Now, if you really think that voting for a Republican this next time around is going to save you, think again, okay? I am burdened with memory, okay? I can remember Bush the First standing there telling me, read my lips, no new taxes. And no sooner did he get off the podium than we got smacked with some new taxes. So, if you really think that a Republican is going to save you from this guy who levied 442 new taxes on you since 2009, think again. Doesn't seem to matter, Democrat or Republican, regardless of which you cast your vote for, you get screwed. Scariest words anybody ever heard, from a guy in a three-piece suit saying, "Hi, I'm from the government. I'm here to help." Yeah, run for the hills. Another tax note here. People's tax refunds will be used to pay decades-old debts from parents. Okay. So, your mom and dad are dead and in the ground. And all of a sudden the IRS comes to you with a bill because, they overpaid mom and dad a little bit on their Social Security or something. You think I'm kidding? It's happened. It has happened. Yes. Yes. Debts can be inherited from your parents. Gives new meaning to the word, to the idea of, pre-planning your demise. Make sure you don't leave your kids with any unnecessary burdens, because this was an article from investmentwatchblog.com. Now again, it's based on a report out of the Washington Post, and this was indeed from the Social Security Administration. Apparently, they overpaid mom, and they hauled this woman in to collect the debt that was owed by her deceased mother. Yeah, think about that one. And yes, we are going to talk about the what just went down this past weekend in Nevada. Frankly, I'm looking at the various chat rooms here. I got 2 different chat rooms up, and there have been some folks asking me if we're going to talk about Nevada. Yeah, that is kind of big news right now, so we will be covering that. Please do jot down the dial-in number. It's 877-342-6673 if you have an opinion to express on what went down in Nevada in the second half of tonight's program, right after the bottom of the hour break, in about, I guess about 6 minutes from now. We will be discussing that issue, and I will invite anybody in the audience who might have an opinion, particularly if you have an opinion that differs from the one that I will express. We'll try to give a few folks an opportunity to come in and speak their piece. That's 877-342-6673. But moving right along, I want to get a few items out of the way before we get into that one. Ukraine, okay? Now, at this point, I've had kind of an opportunity to look at this thing going on in Ukraine from a number of different angles. And, you know, be honest with you, I'm still not really 100% sure what's going on there. All right, now, yes, it appears that the United States was backing their folks. Russia was backing their folks. Apparently, there was billions of dollars moved in to Ukraine to prop up, shall we say, folks who were supportive of American interests and EU interests. The fact of the matter is, all of the people involved in Ukraine, whether you're on one side of this fence or the other, they are all dyed-in-the-wool communists, okay? None of them are really interested in the best interests of the United States, and why the United States would see fit to throw billions of dollars into Ukraine to try to influence them. I'm really not sure, because, you know, Ukraine is historically aligned with Russia. And I have to stop and think, if I was Vladimir Putin and I really wanted to get the United States tangled up in something messy and cost them a lot of money and embarrass them and cause them a lot of aggravation, I'd finance 2 sides, kind of like the way the United States does from time to time, where we finance both sides of a fracas to get them going at each other, so we got an excuse to come in. You know, if I was Vladimir Putin, that's what I'd do. I'd finance, my buddy who I had in there, and then I'd finance the opposition, kick my buddy out, and hold my buddy in reserve. You know, this might all just be a game being played on us by a very savvy operator, Vladimir Putin. Keep in mind, that guy makes what we're offering. Our guy looks like, Pee Wee Herman to Vladimir Putin's Arnold Schwarzenegger. So, I wish the United States government would heed the warnings that George Washington left us with and not involve ourselves in foreign adventures. But right now, it seems the United States is very adventurous. A fella pictured over my shoulder, he is the current head poobah of Ukraine. And, he's making deals with the United States for the acquisition of U.S. weapons and potentially even U.S. military assistance to put down what he calls an uprising, a rabble in the eastern portion of Ukraine, kind of like what we've got going on out west. we're going to be talking about that issue out west when we come back from our first break. But on this Ukraine issue, you got to kind of keep an eye on it, because this could be the fuse that sets off the big one, okay? There are so many hot spots in the world, but Ukraine is certainly one of them. If somebody makes a bad move, somebody misinterprets somebody's intentions, somebody gets a little crazy and, does something stupid, Ukraine could be the issue. Brings us into a conflict that I really can't imagine either side wants. Keep an eye on that one. Could get scary. And if I time that correctly, I should be hearing the music. And yes, I do hear the music in the background, so please do stand by. I'll be back after these important commercial opportunities. Alrighty, we're back from that blatantly commercial interruption to tonight's presentation. Back in 1996, in Nye County, Nevada, a little incident took place that was commonly referred to as the Sagebrush Rebellion. 1996. Doesn't seem that was that long ago, you know. But, you know, here in the United States, average person has attention span of a gnat, so let me refresh your memory around this here. Let's see. To get to Pine Creek Ranch, turn over, drive past an old silver mining town. This is not the end of the world, as the saying goes, but you can see it from here. On one side are traditional Westerners, ranchers, loggers, miners, and others living and working on the land in much the same way the first white settlers did more than a century ago. On the other side are government officials adjusting to a new environmental ethic, demanding stricter management of federal land. We'll get on to federal land in just a moment, which makes up most of the landscape of the rural West. That is the case. I mean, Nevada, something like 85% of the acreage of Nevada is claimed to be federal land. What is federal land? Well, that is public land. That is the land that the federal government is supposed to manage in trust for the American people. Public land, not federal land. The Fed does not have title to that land. That is the people's land. That is the public land that the federal government is supposed to manage in trust for our posterity. Now, it used to be that the philosophy of the United States government was that the public lands were available to all for mixed use. If you had a logging company and you wanted to go into a chunk of federal land and take down some of the trees to use for lumber, to build homes and so forth, you would pay a small fee and you would do your logging. If you were a mining company, you would pay a small fee and you would mine on these public lands. The Bureau of Land Management came about basically to manage these business relationships. Okay? The Bureau of Land Management was never intended to preclude the commercial use of this public resource. It was intended to manage it so that, we didn't have, 50 guys going after the same tree and getting into some kind of a shootout over logging rights on one tree. People are like that. I stuck a claim on this tree. No, it's my tree. Okay. Bureau of Land Management was supposed to mitigate that type of disagreement and make it official that, yes, you, Mr. So-and-so, buddy of this congressman, you get the right to mine. You, buddy of that congressman, you get to do logging, whatever. Well, back before the white man came to this country, much of this land was grazed by a critter called a buffalo that represented the cattle, the, food animal of those who owned the country at that time. The white man came over, and buffalo was okay, but we really prefer cows. So buffalo were quite literally slaughtered by the millions, and the white man brought in his favorite food animal, the cow. So now cattle have pretty much taken the place of the buffalo in grazing these federal lands, really public lands. Now, back during the Carter administration, we got a new federal agency called the Environmental Protection Agency. And rather than monitor, things like Fukushima that might actually be a danger to you and warn you of, impending environmental dangers, instead of doing a job that you would think would be for the benefit of America, what the Environmental Protection Agency started doing is basically declaring, snail darters and other things, to be endangered species. And they got around to this turtle that lives out in the middle of the desert, who apparently is not even native to that area. It was transplanted also, but that's okay. That is its natural habitat now. And they're afraid that cows grazing on these federal lands might inadvertently step on a turtle. So, you, Mr. Rancher, instead of running 1,000 head of cattle, we're only going to let you run 100 head of cattle now because, we just can't stand the possibility that one of your cattle might step on one of these turtles. That was a decision made in 1993. So, it's gotten to the point where you got so many federal agencies making so many different regulations that it becomes overwhelming for a simple man who's trying to live the lifestyle that has been lived in that part of the country since the 1800s. Now, this fella Bundy, who has a ranch in southern Nevada, his family has ranched in that area since the 1870s. They have always grazed cattle on what is being referred to as federal land. From their point of view, this was public land. Their cattle shared the land with guys wanting to ride through on their dirt bikes and people in their four-wheelers going out looking at the scenery. This was public land that was available for multiple uses to multiple parties. No, Bundy never claimed to own it. He did indeed improve that land, and based on tradition, by improving that land, he definitely has a claim on it. And seeing as how his family had ranched that land since the 1870s, he feels entitled to be there. And a ranch of that type cannot make a profit raising 100 cows. For this guy to make a living doing what he does, he's got to raise at least around 1,000 head. He can make a comfortable living if he raises 1,000 head of cattle. Well, after a disagreement over the number of cattle that he could run and the fees associated with his grazing on that land, This guy Bundy basically told the BLM, Bureau of Land Management, bag it in. He wasn't going to pay. He said, you guys are just trying to chase me out of business. And frankly, of all the ranchers that used to be all around him, he's the only man standing. They've chased out more than 50 ranchers, just flat put them out of business. Now, for those of you who are vegetarians, you're probably cheering. You're saying, yay, they put the cattle out of business. But, for the rest of us who occasionally like a nice steak or enjoy our Big Mac, this is a serious threat to the food supply. They are putting the men out of business who raise the food that we choose to eat. And we'll be back with some additional thoughts on this issue as soon as we get back from this last break of the evening. I'll be right back after these important commercial messages. Okay, we're back from the break, and I understand that somebody has decided to take up my challenge and was brave enough to make the phone call. Ken from Arizona, are you still with me, or did you get bored with my tirade and drop while I was yakking about it?
Gary, I'm still here, and you're pretty spot on with this, but it even goes a little bit deeper than that. And
well, now you're from Arizona, and I don't suppose you're in that business. I mean, are you at all involved in ranching? Do you run cattle? Do you work a cattle ranch? Okay, do you
I have as a kid up in Oregon. I worked around the ranchers and stuff, but and this is pretty dear to my heart. I mean, but where the big issue here. And thank God I have a decent congressman down here. His name is Paul.
He's not Harry Reid, right?
No, Paul Dobner. He's boots on the. My congressman is boots on the ground in Nevada right now at that ranch. But this guy Harry Reid and his son broker a deal and giving my country away to the Chinaman. Is got at this.
Well, but they got a good chunk of change for it, didn't they? I mean, it's not like they just gave it away. They got paid.
Well, I know they got paid, but they ran 52 families out of business. And this kind of corruption has to stop. And I mean,
and now my Big Mac says made in Argentina. I mean, the United States used to raise the best beef in the world. People envied our beef, and Argentinians would buy our beef. Nowadays, they won't buy our beef because we inject it with too much stuff. And,
in 1950, Gary, in 1957, the United States fed the world in beef, and now we import 60% of it. What does that tell you?
It tells me that a lot of fellows like this guy Bundy have been run out of business, and there's plenty of turtles out there, but there ain't no Big Macs on the hoof.
No, and the turtles, like Bundy said, I mean, come on, here's the deal. The turtles, ecologically, his cows, when they ingest and they deposit, those turtles were eating the cow manure and having more nutrition out of that than they were grazing on that land. Ecologically, there was a hand in glove. It was working out just fine. How do you think they were propagating so much? I mean, they had 2,000 turtles in '92. Now they got 25,000 turtles, and that's not by accident.
Yeah, and the turtles is all just that's smoke and mirrors to get the environmentalists wagging their tongues anyway. I mean it's as I like to say, that is pure unadulterated BS. Now
absolutely.
One of the issues I had hoped to discuss is now we had what a lot of people are calling a victory against government oppression, with the BLM backing down at Bundy's ranch. Mm-hmm. What's your take on it?
That was a false flag. That's a false flag, period. They're not backing down. They're going to come out. They're going to regroup, and I would say within 10 days they're going to come out with a force that this could be the line in the sand, and then you implicate it into martial law, and you got King Obama for the duration, and I want people to understand that.
Well, I tend to agree with you up to a point. I think this thing could go Waco real easy. Now,
Real fast.
a lot of us, when the Waco thing went down, a lot of us, jumped up and were yelling, where is the public indignation? Where are the people out in the streets? Yeah, okay, those folks down in Waco were painted as a bunch of, whacked out crazy Christians waiting for, doomsday or whatever. But, this is the United States of America. Last time I checked, it was not illegal to be weird in the United States of America. That is perfectly legal. As long as you're being weird, don't mess with anybody else.
Till they started spelling it with a K. And we're in trouble, buddy. We're in trouble.
All right,
and
so you're kind of the mind that all this is kind of a strategic withdrawal, and they're going to wait until all the fellers who have massed to support this guy Bundy. They're going to wait until all those guys have a mortgage to pay, wife to take care of, kids to take care of, head back home, take care of their lives, and as soon as they're all gone, you figure federales are going to swoop in and probably take revenge on this guy Bundy. You think he should be looking over his shoulder?
I think that he just shouldn't be. I think he should be looking straight ahead. Stuart Rhodes with the Oath Keepers, which is an organization I belong to, Vietnam vet, and so I took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States. Stuart Rhodes came out with a press conference today, and he just flatly stated they are already regrouping 100 miles away. And yeah, I think this is about to flare, and it might become hot, And so, if I can, Gary, just be point blank, I'm in Yuma. I'm trying everything I can to get there because it's important. It's that important. This man is the Abraham for Israel. I mean, the government is out of control, and people don't get it.
Well,
I don't want to eat with chopsticks. Trust me.
I don't have the coordination. I never could work those things. Like Chinese food, but please, give me a fork. I can't deal with the sticks. But bottom line is, at some point or another, we've had this government overreaching, and they've done it in baby steps. They've done it. Incrementalism is the name of the game, and it is the boiling frog scenario. They keep raising the temperature, and we think we're in a sauna or a hot tub. And we're getting cooked. At some point, I have no doubt, but that those who actually cherish their liberty will find they have no choice but to stand their ground. And if that means, blood has to be spilled, then blood has to be spilled. I don't think anybody wants it. But I don't, where do you draw the line? You think this might be the line in the sand, huh?
This could very well be, and if not, the Million Man March is supposed to happen. That's being sponsored by Lieutenant Colonel Riley and Vallely on the 17th, 18th, 19th of May. That will be a defining moment in this country, and people got to get away from their TVs and get up off their behinds and start back. I mean, you can't just sit around and say, well, I called my Congress people. I called my senators. I made those calls. It doesn't take anything to make a phone call. You may not be able to get to Nevada, but call and tell them you object to Harry Reid and his swindling and his sidestepping and all the crap that's going on back in D.C. And people are, what really bothers me, Gary, is I think, I pray not, but I'm a God-fearing man, and I just pray that the apathy in this country hasn't run to the point, and the dumbed downness hasn't run to the point that we're just done. Just they may not even have fire shot, just take it away from us.
Well, one of the gag articles I had that I was going to get to if I had time was that there are more women in the United States right now receiving food stamps than employed. Female employment is this percentage of the population, females on food stamps are that, and there are more on food stamps. So, there is an awfully large group of the American population that is so dependent on the government for sustenance that,
Gary, here's a statistic, though, you can counter that with. There's more women getting concealed weapon carry permits than ever before in history. So,
well, the one bad thing about concealed. The one bad thing about a concealed weapons permit is that puts a target on your back. They know who you are, and they know where you are, and they know what you got.
Yeah,
I prefer anonymity.
There's a lot of gals now. There's a lot of gals at the shooting ranges. I've been noticing, and front sights and a few other places. There's a lot of women participants, and that's good for That's good for us guys. That's really.
Well, now, let's just suppose that things do go hostile in southern Nevada. Okay, I mean it could happen. I mean we know it's going to happen sooner or later. I mean sooner or later,
right?
Somebody's going to do something stupid. Somebody's going to pull a trigger. Somebody's going to point a gun at the wrong man, and they're going to take exception to it. And shit's going to hit the fan. It's going to happen.
That's no other way to say it. People, you know what? There is a contingency of a lot of good Americans, God-fearing Americans in this country, and enough is going to be enough. We've been swindled, cheated, lied to, and there is going to be that line in the sand. I agree with you. I don't want to see it.
Well, suppose it happens.
That vet, I don't want to see that.
Suppose we get Vladimir Putin to just immediately recognize us as an independent nation. I mean, it worked for the United States in Kiev, didn't it?
Right on.
Should we be writing Vladimir a letter, say, "Hey, Vlad"?
Yeah, it's just like you said earlier. I think you said this earlier that we're sending Pee Wee Herman against the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, I saw a political cartoon, there was this political cartoon where Obama and Vlad were sitting there, elbowing each other, saying, "Well, I can watch me. I'm going to invade Crimea." And Obama said, "Oh man, damn, he got away with that." So Obama looks at Putin and says, "Watch this. I'm going to invade Nevada." And then Obama comes back with his head hung low. Now.
Yeah.
I do want to get one point out there before, because we only got a couple minutes before they're going to drag me off the stage here.
Sorry.
But I don't want to cut you off, but I want to run this past you and get your opinion of this. If there was a victory this weekend in Nevada, it was a victory of alternative media. Because it was alternative media that dragged the mainstream, kicking and screaming. They wanted to ignore this issue. They didn't want to be there. You really think Sean Hannity wanted to have a bit on this? You really think that CNN wanted to put a truck out there in the middle of the desert? Those boys want to be in Cabo San Lucas, with all the babes and the booze. They didn't want to be out in the middle of the desert.
Umbrellas and the drinks.
Yeah, that was the last thing they wanted to cover.
Alternative media.
Had it not been
for alternative media,
had it not been for the boots on the ground getting the word out and forcing the issue, I don't think that would have gotten any mainstream coverage at all. I mean, just between you and me, I'm not a big fan of this guy Pete Santilli, but some of his coverage was quite good, very professional. The guy did a good job.
You can find out from Jeff Rance, and I'm not particularly a fan of Santilli or InfoWars, but David Knight did a heck of a job.
David Knight did a hell of a job. The coverage that David Knight provided was very professional. Put CNN to shame. So yeah, if there was a victory, I think it was alternative media. What used to be the alternative media at this point is the real media. We're the ones getting out there doing the job of the reporters and trying to bring it out there as best we possibly can. Are we perfect? Hell no.
We're perfect. We're perfect on that. We agree totally 100%. So.
All right, Ken. Well, look, I appreciate your call.
Thank you for taking my call, my friend.
I'm hearing the music in the background, so I'm going to have to beat feet,
all right,
man.
Buddy.
Take
Have
care
a good
now.
weekend.
Good night. Well, that was Ken from Arizona. It's nice. Sometimes it's nice to hear somebody else's opinion besides me. I do all the barking at the moon. There are others out there who have very valid opinions, and everyone should look at these issues and make up their own damn mind. I'm Gary Hendershot. I'm out of here. Good night, y'all.
What will you do? calling out to you. Won't you turn, won't you turn